Come on, let's make some noise for Jesus one time in the building. Man, now listen, that clap was cute for the Pacers. But I'm talking about the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Come on, let's make some noise for Jesus. Hey, we're in week two of a great series called Because of You. And I'm Pastor Mark. If we haven't had the opportunity to meet him, the lead pastor here at Mercy Road Church, Anderson, where we believe that there's no one too far from God to experience life change through Jesus. And if you've experienced life change through Jesus, let's make some noise in this place. Yeah. Hey, I want to say happy Mother's Day to all the moms and mother figures. Come on, let's make some noise for them. Grandmas and great-grandmas, man. It's a good day. Listen, we're in week 2. If you haven't saw week 1, we talked about last week what it means to carry the corner. And what God is calling all of us to do is to ask yourself, when was the last time you carried the corner for somebody else? And when I think about that, it actually leads me right into exactly this week 2 expression of what we want to look at. But more importantly, it just reminded me of how my mother was carrying the corner of my life. And so for you all, some of you have experiences with moms as well who were carrying you when you couldn't carry yourself, who was praying for you when you couldn't pray for yourself, who looked out for you when you couldn't look out. Am I the only person in here? Oh, okay. I got about 10 of y'all. I had a good mama, so happy Mother's Day, Mom, and thank God for you. But no, it also reminded me of this, that, you know, my mom used to make my lunch every day, even when we were struggling and trying to make ends meet, and maybe that was the most efficient way anyway, because otherwise she had to give me money for lunch. But, you know, she used to make lunch, and she used to make these sandwiches. I don't know about you, but nobody can quite make a sandwich like your mom. Like I don't care, like, if you get the recipe, if you get the ingredients, like, it's something about when Mom makes the sandwich, it's just that much better. And man, and I'm telling you, and my mom used to make these lunches for me, and I want y'all to know, like, making a lunch is not like any easy feat. Especially if you're a parent working multiple jobs, trying to figure out how to make ends meet, trying to keep the lights on. And at the end of the day, like, making a lunch may actually be affordable, but that doesn't mean you're going to have to get up a little bit earlier. You got to set that alarm clock a little earlier. And here's the thing. After you make the lunch, there's no applause. There is no audience. That doesn't go viral on TikTok. Unless you're like, hey, guys, today we're going to make the, you know. Real moms ain't got time for all of that. Setting up no camera, getting their hair fixed and all. Ain't nobody got time for that. And so what I realized is what was so special is that, you know, by the time I got to high school, I was like over mom's lunch. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not eating this lunch. But then I would discover, like, my mom would put little notes or like little things in there. And beyond the lunch that she packed, she was also packing my life with prayer. That in the morning, as I may have had a bag lunch, but she would drive me to school or drive me to the edge of the corner so I didn't let people know my mom was dropping me off at school. Ain't nobody else had that? Like, that was just me. Like, I didn't want, especially if your mom's car was like beat up. Oh, I'm just, okay, whatever. You know, it wouldn't quite turn over every time you turned it. It had that little scuff on the side, you know, like. So, you know, once I got to that age, it wasn't like a big deal, but I remember opening up because I stopped like using the lunch or whatever, stopped eating it, but she kept packing. That's a word for somebody. That even if you aren't using it, that doesn't mean that you stop doing what you're doing. That doesn't mean that you stop being consistent. That doesn't mean that you stop being nice. You stop showing love. You stop showing grace. But you keep doing it in the dark. You keep waking up. You keep going the extra mile. You keep serving somebody else because you know that if you pack a life with not just lunch and good nutrients, but if you pack a life with prayer, eventually they're going to open it up. And when they open it up, maybe they'll discover that the prayers have been covering them, that the prayers have been keeping them, that the prayers are the reason why you aren't dead, that the prayers are the reason why you're not in prison, that the prayers that have packed your life are impactful. And what I realize is that work of being a mom is oftentimes the work of being in the margins. But what's beautiful is if you ever take some time out and read the Bible or read scripture, you'll discover that most of the miracles happen in the margins. Y'all ready to jump into God's word? That's what I want to talk about today, the miracle in the margins. Let's go to John chapter number 6. Chapter number 6 of John's gospel. John's gospel is one of the authorized biographers of Jesus' life. He has the highest Christology of Jesus, meaning that if you wanted to learn about how Jesus isn't just a human being, but he was also a God man, he was the Christ, he was the Messiah, he was special. He has the highest view of Jesus being the Christ. You should read John's gospel. But John's gospel, chapter number 6, by the time we get here, he's already told us that the Word was God, the Word was with God, and the Word became flesh. So we know that Jesus is the walking, talking, breathing manifestation of God in human flesh. Well, God in human flesh, by the time we get to chapter 6, has already done some miracles. And you know, good miracles travel fast. You heal somebody, you give sight to the blind, you help a paralyzed man walk, word gonna travel. And this is before you went viral. This is before Facebook. This is before Snapchat. This is before TikTok. This is for all of that. And Jesus was already viral. And so here we pick up on this story where some of you may be familiar with, but maybe some of you are not. John chapter number 6, verse number 1 reads like this. Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far side of the Sea of Galilee, that is the Sea of Tiberias, and a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs that he had performed by healing the sick. And then Jesus, he went up to the mountainside and sat down with his disciples, and the Jewish Passover festival was near. And when Jesus looked up, he saw a great crowd that were coming toward him. And he said to Philip, one of his disciples, he says, "Where should we buy bread for these people to eat?" And he asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. So Philip, he answered him, and he said, it would take more than a half a year's wages. So whatever you make in a year, half of that, that's what it would take to buy enough bread for each one to not have a meal, but to have a bite. And another of his disciples, Andrew, he's Simon Peter's brother, he spoke up and said, wait. I found there's a little boy over here. He's got 5 small barley loaves and 2 fish. 2 small fish, probably like little sardines. And y'all eat sardines? Anybody eat sardines? Somebody said, yeah. Okay. But how far will they go among so many? Somebody say it's not enough. Yeah, it's not enough. So Jesus, he said, hey, have the people sit down. Somebody say sit down. Now say it like your mother would say it to you. That energy, that's what I'm talking about. Sit down. And if she wasn't saved, she might have said, sit your. Yeah, I know black mother. She gonna, anyway. I love you, Ma. All right. He said, sit down. There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. And about 5,000 men were there. Everybody say 5,000. Say 5,000. 5,000 men were there. Guess what? They only counted men because women weren't considered citizens. 5,000 men were there. And when they had all had enough to eat, then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. So he blessed it, he broke it, started distributing it. Now, when they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, he says, gather the pieces that are left over. Some might say leftovers. Anybody like leftovers? All right. How many of y'all don't like leftovers? All right, I'm in that camp. I get it. But it says this, let nothing be wasted. Nothing wasted. So here's what they did. They gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of 5 barley, the loaves that were left over by those who had eaten. Take a journey with me. Can you imagine the sun is just beginning to set over the mountains? This crowd of people have been journeying maybe for a day, maybe two. The crowd is coming in. They're closing in on the site where Jesus is sitting with his disciples, and he's just finished healing people and serving, and Passover is on the way. They're probably looking for an opportunity to find some reprieve from the world tour, at least the Galilean tour that Jesus is on. And as the crowd comes in, you begin to hear the stomachs of those who are traveling. But in the crowd, you've got, if you can imagine, a mom who's cradling a little baby. The baby may be tired and hungry, or maybe both at the same. You also got fathers who are there, who are the protectors, and most of those who are showed up out of the 5,000 are coming because they got word that the miracle worker is here. The miracle worker is here, and those who have been sick, and those who are infirmed, and those who don't have enough, or those who are looking for a miracle are present. And what's in this crowd is not just people. What's in the crowd are people who are in need of a miracle. And then if you can picture it, in this great crowd, there's moms there, there's fathers there. So again, it says 5,000 men, but there's probably at least 10,000 people there, because most of those men didn't either travel alone, and they brought their families with them. And what would have been custom during that day is that they would have packed some food to eat to bring them to this point. And maybe they've traveled so far that they've already ran through the lunch during the breakfast hour, because that's what my daughter does during the day, I'm sure of it. She don't wait to get to lunch to start nibbling on them snacks. Probably just like many of them, they had probably consumed a lot of what they had packed on the way there. But then if you got a good mama, there's a gentleman, there's a young man who's sitting in the margins in the corner amongst this crowd. Young man is not named. He's not listed. He's not on the VIP list of the disciples. And yet, he's sitting there with his basket with 2 fish and 5 loaves. He decides that he's going to offer it to Jesus. And he's got just enough faith to share it. He doesn't know it yet. This young boy who's sitting amongst this crowd, he doesn't know it, he doesn't realize it, he doesn't even sense it. But what he does as a gesture, and thank God he's not like me, because I don't like sharing my food. And I don't know if that's you, but I don't like sharing. Whitney knows, Noah knows. Don't ask Daddy for them fries. Don't ask him for a piece of his nugget. You ain't getting none. Don't even ask for these fruit snacks that I bought for you. These are mine. If you want some, go get some for somebody else. But the boy has no idea, who's unnamed, he's going to offer his basket to share with strangers. Doesn't even care that when he's offering it, he doesn't realize that if there's 5,000 people here, this is what I have isn't even enough. But he offers it. That what I may have in my basket is insufficient, and yet I'm going to offer it. That somebody gave this to me that's a prized possession, because nobody makes a sandwich and sardines like my mama, but I'm offering it because I believe that God can do something with it. Just enough faith. And what we discover in this story is that God does his biggest miracles through people who serve in the smallest places. So don't feel like you're overlooked because of your age. Don't feel like you're not good enough because your basket doesn't possess what you think is enough, because what I know is that a little bit in God's hands does more than a lot in my hands, and I've seen God continue to multiply whatever you put in his hands. But before you get to multiplication, miracles start when we serve people. Write it down. Take a picture. The miracle starts where people serve. Ask the person next to you, when the last time you served? You probably asking somebody, but you haven't served yourself. Here's what it says in the passage. Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many? Unsure, doesn't know when, doesn't know how he's going to multiply and feed these individuals, and yet he offers it up. If we look at this passage, Jesus, he sees the people's needs. Philip, he sees the problem, and Andrew, he sees some possibility, and yet it doesn't seem like it's enough. Jesus knew he was going to be testing his disciples because he wanted to see if they have even grasped the concept, the principle, the thing that God has been trying to get them to understand, that even if you don't have enough, even if you don't believe you have the skill, even if it looks like it's dark and it's shadows and you're in a valley, that God can take your story and make it a message, that God can take your small, insignificant basket and he'll take it and he will bless it. God does his biggest miracles through people who serve in the smallest places. He wasn't on the VIP list. He's not named in the crowd. But his mama's footprints and fingerprints are all over it. Because I'm reminded that that this young man, he doesn't just come with the lunch. He comes with the leverage of a praying mother who was praying for his journey when she was making the lunch. And maybe he's heard or saw or witnessed somebody sharing with other people who seemingly may not even deserve it. That he may have seen this practice somewhere in his lifetime where he recognized that if I have something and I see a need, it's better to be a blessing to give than to receive. That's what happens when you decide to step into the margin that you find yourself in. Because the margins is where we see the miracles of God happen. And I can remember, even in the early days of this church plant, where it was just a few of us who were gathering in this room, and it felt like we didn't have much, just a few people with some folding chairs that I went and bought from Walmart, just down the road. And when I bought them, I was so cheap that I actually left the tags on the table and I was going to take them back. And we were sitting about right there, right, Matt? We were about sitting about right there. And my wife said, why you still got the tags? And I said, I'm taking them back. I'm taking them back. But it was just a few people folding chairs and someone watching kids in the hallway and someone brewing coffee. But God kept multiplying what we offered, not because it was flashy, not because we had a platform, but because we were faithful. So I don't know who this is for, but God told me to tell you, stay faithful. Stay faithful to making that lunch and waking up at 5 a.m. Stay faithful showing up. Stay faithful to your friends. Stay faithful to your marriage. Stay faithful to your kids. Just keep showing up with your basket and offering it and watch God bless it. Why? Because miracles start when you start to serve. It's funny because a lot of us want big miracles for our lives. God, bless me with a new house, a new job. God, bless my finance. God, I need a new ride. God, would you bless me with a husband? Bless me with a wife, God. Big miracles. God, would you help our family come together? Would you help my kids? Would you help them? We've been asking God for big miracles, but we don't want, or we don't realize that we don't want to start with our small basket. Because the question is, what have you been doing with your small basket? God, do a big miracle, but what have you done with your small basket? How have you stewarded your ability? How have you stewarded what you have? See, never underestimate how God can multiply what you're willing to offer. See, you don't have to be seen to be significant. And that's the problem. A lot of us, we only want to do things when we can be seen. Because being seen is about being significant. Some of us only want to be seen, so we can see our pictures on the social media platform and grab it and share it. See, I'm doing it. Some of y'all just use it for validation to let somebody know that you go to church. But it ain't about being seen. You don't have to be seen to be significant. You know why? Because I can remember the people who came in who was able to pour coffee, or the people that have been praying over these seats before you showed up. There are people that have been moving and making production and making a slide. You think this stuff happens overnight? No, it happens when people decide to share what's in their basket. If you've been willing, or if you've been waiting to be celebrated before you serve, you're missing the point. See, Jesus looks for those who serve in the shadows. The boy didn't make the headline, but he carried the miracle. I want you to think about that. They don't know his name. He's not on the list. And yet, 2,025 years later, we're talking about the miracle. You didn't know that you've been walking around with miracle potential in your own life. See, I get it. The miracle starts when you serve, but the miracle gets multiplied when you surrender. When you begin to surrender what you have, because if you have the miracle sitting in your pocket, if it's in the basket, if it's in your life, then the question is, when will you surrender it? Because when you surrender it and you give your time and you give your talent and you give your treasure to something that's bigger than yourself, namely God, then God will begin to multiply it. This is what happened when he gave us lunch. It says Jesus then took the loaves, he gave thanks for it, and then he distributed it. Which means that when you give it to him, he's going to bless it. Most of the time, you only hear this when people want to talk about money. Right? God's going to bless you, right? And when you bless, he's going to bless you. He's going to push it down, shake it together, run it over. Well, that's just not money. God wants to do that with your gifts. God wants to do that with your life. See, God is not trying to get your ability. He's trying to get your availability. And when you're available to God, guess what he'll do? He'll press it down. He'll shake it together. He will run it over. He will begin to bless people that you don't even know. You'll begin to be a miracle to somebody that you can't even see. You'll begin to see lives get changed because of the sacrifice of your basket. See, that's why in our church we can celebrate. We've already baptized 6 people on Mother's Day, and we've got one more that we're going to at least do in this one. And maybe there's somebody in the building that needs to know that our God still does miracles, but it's been in your pocket. It's in your basket. You think your life isn't good. You think because you sinned last night. You think because you drank too much. You think because you smoked that weed a couple days ago. You think because you're not good enough that you're not a walking, talking, breathing miracle. God is just waiting for you to say, I'm here. Because when you surrender, that's when God begins to multiply. What if the boy kept the basket to himself? What if he said, this is all I've got, and I can't help everybody else? Because I get it. That's the reality of some of you sitting here. Mark, I'm barely making ends meet. And you're asking me to give. Mark, I barely have any time to sleep or eat properly, and you're asking me to serve. Mark, I'm cool with coming on a Sunday, but like you want me to come in on Thursday for rehearsal too? I mean, I've been around. I like y'all vibe. The lobby is cool. The coffee is hot. But you want me to serve coffee too? And my question is, well, how did you get the coffee? How did you taste it? Who made it? How long did they have to come? How much time did they sacrifice from their family so that you could enjoy it? And the truth is, where's your availability? For God is using them, and God can use you too. And she said, this is all I've got. And just because